I'm excited to introduce our first keynote speaker, Dr. Carlo Becker, co-partner at bgmr Landschaftsarchitekten, a landscape architecture company in Berlin. Regrettably, our other keynote speaker, Dr. Dana Nickel, former head of Berliner Regenwasseragentur and currently head of objectives and strategies for wastewater management at Berliner Wasserbetriebe, cannot join us today due to illness. Get better soon. Carlo Becker brings a wealth of experience in landscape planning and stormwater management. Let's hear his insights on making our cities more climate resilient in his presentation, Sponge Cities, a Shared Responsibility, and have a look at the challenges of sponge cities in general, and also the city of Berlin in particular, dealing with water issues and stormwater challenges. To our online participants, if you have any questions during Carlo's keynote, please feel free to use the chat feature in the pinned box to the right of the screen. Following the keynote, we will hold a brief Q&A session, selecting questions from the chat. Now I'm pleased to turn the floor over to Carlo Becker. The floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you very much. Hello. Thank you for the invitation. Fine. Okay. Sponge City. I think it's a shared responsibility. We have to discuss, we have to work about this. 4 impulses for this theme. We have the challenge for the cities, we have the challenge for Berlin. We have the big levers for the sponge cities, we have the levers for the city of Berlin. And we have a conclusion. So I will start. The challenge sponge cities. We must act now. We are living in the Anthropocene. 300 years we changed all over the world the nature. The consequence is 6 out of 9 of the planetary boundaries have been exceeded today. So we have to act now. And we have especially act now in the cities. The cities are networked systems. Cities required a lot of energy, raw materials, water and food and so on. Cities use and consume it and release it into the environment as waste, carbon, pollution and wastewater. This open material flows cannot continue. Circularity and the circular cities development is a task for the future. Water management is one of the main levers for this circularity in the cities. So we have a very important job to do. The sponge city is a circular city, so the theme. Rainwater is recirculated in this sponge city. The city becomes runoff free. The natural water balance becomes a goal, lots of evaporation, some infiltration, almost no runoff is the task. Vegetation should be irrigated so that retail and evaporated greenery cools the cities. Heat, drought and urban flood, not select, we have to combine them, we have to blend it together. Why? In the natural landscape, we have much evaporation. We have the conversion of solar energy into latent energy, and this is the result is low heating. But when we come in the cities, we have the heat island effects, and we have to cool through evaporation. Heat islands affect in areas due to a high proportion of sea surfaces with low evaporation, so we have to change it. How to change it? The main strategy is the evapotranspiration, but we need water to do this, especially in summer times. So we have to combine heat and water management. The cooling capacity increases with increasing evaporation and shading, And this is the nature-based solution is with the vegetation and water to come together like this picture shows us. The sponge city principle, so, is the city is a change in climate needs available water to evaporate and irrigate vegetation. We have to store water when it's plenty there. We release it when we need it. So we have a sponge, this idea of sponge, like the picture shows, but this is not possible for the urban cities. The sponge city principle around urban spaces is the surface of the cities act as a sponge. Green roofs, facades, urban wetlands, water supplies, soil. Rainwater evaporates for cooling. Rainwater is used for irrigation and vital granary. And this is a very systemic interaction and circularity, and this is very important to think in this context. Sponge cities, the challenge for Berlin. Berlin is a water-poor city. Precipitation less than 600 millimeters a year. We have the river flow. We have combined it. We have, when you look to other cities like Cologne, Dresden, Hamburg, Frankfurt, they have very high river flow. Berlin, only one. This is a challenge for the city's water management because in Berlin we have a semi-closed water cycle. And it's very important, the condition and quality of the water is very important for this cycle. 95% of the drinking water is produced in the urban areas of Berlin. Most of them is bank filtrate. The drinking water and production and the wastewater disposal is in one area, in one water system. So we have to manage it together in a very closed connection. Because we have also severages and overflows in the city when we have rainy days like today. So we have another job to do, we have another challenge, the flooding and surface ceilings. We have risk areas for urban flooding all over the city, especially where many people are living. And we have infrastructure, like the picture shows us, with problems. So this is one side, too much water. The other side is less water, with effects of drought and dryness. A good third of small water bodies, with very important for the biodiversity, have dried up in the last years. The trees need water, but they are damaged because of the drought and dryness. And the groundwater reservoirs are replenished after the last drought years, not full now. And we need the evaporation and the heat islands in this connection. You see the cooling areas on the left. Here's a high rate of evaporation. On the right side, it's the heat stress, the hot cities areas. And you can see water and heat, they are combined or not combined, and this must be the strategy of sponge cities. The big levers, what have we do for the sponge cities? What are the aims, what are the goals, what have we to do? I think here for Germany, we have to think about our laws. Laws need to be amended. We have to look one example, I have one example here, German Water Resource Act, Germany Wasserhaushaltsgesetz. In paragraph 55 is the definition of wastewater disposal. Wastewater is the water collected from precipitation from built up and paved areas. And this is rainwater. But is rainwater wastewater? I think it's a resource for our cooling city, for the greeneries, for the drinking water. And in paragraph 55, principle of wastewater disposal, wastewater should be disposed in such a way that the public would it not impaired. But rainwater is a scarce resource, we need it, so we have to change our thinking. We are not, in future, we are not urban drain companies, we are resource managers of water. So it's only a word, wastewater or resource water. It's only a word, but I think it's very important the meaning to discuss. Level 2. Planning runoff-free urban neighborhoods. We want no more draining of rainwater. We want to use it in the cities. The discharge rainwater into the sewerage system, I think it's a technology of the past, 100 years and more, the technology, now it's the past. We change the perspective. The cascade of rainwater management shows this picture. It's from the research project Blue Green Streets. We had yesterday our finishing. So planning of runoff urban neighborhoods is the goal for the future. And we want retention the water, we want to use the water, we want to evaporate the water, we want to infiltrate the water, and no without sewage system. This is another thinking as we have done in the last decades. Level 3. Multi-coated use of the surface of the cities. Turn gray into green. Easy to say, difficult to do. I have Munich. On the left, you see the green space areas from Munich. In the middle, you see 13% of the city areas are the streets. And when we make a zoom in to the city center, we have an area with an outflow of 90% of the building. And is the sealed area a resource to attract water to the sponge city? We have to think, is this a possibility for a new management? Not a way we want to use it. It's a resource, so we need some regulations for do this in a better way than in the last years. This is the DIN in Germany, accommodation of cables and installation in public road spaces, a guideline for the planning. We think we have to discuss about these regulations because I come with my trees, I come with my water management green, and I have to put it into the streets. So the regulation have to look for these new elements of rainwater management. We have to check the regulation, the technical regulation, and develop them further for the purposes of sponge cities. We have, this is the from the research project Blue-Green Streets. We have a Blue-Green Street corridor. We need space for the water management, for the trees, for the sponge cities elements. We have to formulate space requirements for the sponge city first. We have to develop specifications for urban development projects. We have combined planning process from urban development, green planning, and rainwater management. This is not separated. We have to combine it. We have to agree sponge city politically, and we have to adapt regulation technical standards for climate change. So what will this mean? Adapt regulation technical standards for the climate adaptation. And one example, the regulation requires a distance between tree and cable pipe installation. We have 2 meters 50 from tree to the cable and pipes. In the new streets, this regulation is possible normally. In existing streets, treeless streets are the result of this regulation because we have no corridor of 5 or 6 meters for the trees in our cities in the streets. We need a game changer for this regulation to come together. We show it on the picture. So, we need innovation in our doings for climate adaptation. The element of blue-green streets we have here on this picture, and with we have, for example, the evaporation swales and the retail trees, Baumregolen. They are a new element in our management of water and green together for the cooling in the sponge cities. So we need innovation for these new elements for the sponge cities. But my first message was circularity. We have think about circularity, how much technology, control, use of materials is the right. We need maybe strategy of nature-based solutions. We have to think about it. How much technique, how much materials, how much controlling, how much nature. The big levers for Sponge City Berlin. The Sponge City of Berlin, we have also goals, and one important of the lever is the limitation of rainwater discharge. I think this is a very important strategy and very successful. Since 2018, rainwater management must be ensured on the property. Since we have the management on the property, not into the sewage. Since May 21, we have the slogan, Mission Impossible, Mixing Impossible. The rainwater management based on the natural water balance through evaporation, 70% in Berlin, and infiltration. No disposal onto the sewerage system is allowed in new projects. And I think this is a very important lever for the changing, like a game changer in the water management for Berlin. The second lever is promotion financing. Decentralized retention measures are rewarded by a reduction in charges. For example, if you have a green roof, so you have 50 to 80% less to pay money. And so we have many different possibilities to to pay less money when you are doing something like this methods. Third level, develop and coordinate concepts and objects for new urban neighborhoods as an early stage across all disciplines. Important early stage and across all disciplines. Because when town planning, water management, green, traffic plan different, then we have no possibility to multi-code the areas, the spaces in the cities. And this is an example for the Buchauer Felder in Berlin. We have a management for the whole neighborhood, for the new neighborhood, multi-coded parks for retention, infiltration, and recreation for the neighborhood is one important part of this concept. The drain system for the streets, Baumregion, Kiesregion, they are very important for the for the greenery, also for the water management, and for the cooling the city. So we need an early stage and all discipline strategy for such neighborhoods. And we have to think across properties boundaries, because we have sometimes the opportunity to come together if we have a lack of space. We have possibilities for win-win situation. The housing area is very small, and has very much water. Nearby is a park in Berlin, and nearby here. The park needs water, and so we have a strategy to combine the water from the building property to the green area. And I think this is a good example to solve problems when we have less space. And I think one important is we are planning for the inhabitants, for the children, for the older, for all in the city. And we have to involve the citizens. Low threshold solution and maintenance of urban garden, urban green, I think this is a very important strategy for the future in the sponge city. We have big strategies, and we have very low threshold solutions. Okay. Conclusion. Come to the next. Water sensitive sponge city means to practice a cross-departmental planning and action. We have connect. We have to cross over sectoral plannings and land use. I think we have to work in projects instead of sectoral responsibility. This is very easy to say, but have you done water management, housing, economics, city development, green, traffic, come together in one project? And I think this is a very important new thinking of development response cities. We want to multi-code the surface of the city together in multiple ways, become more interdisciplinary. We need strategies from separateness to links and coupling. So, what have we learned? Small cities are a systemic task. We have to work together. Political support is very important. We need clear guidelines for administration action. Network approach to implementation is very important. Knowledge exchange, readjustment and responsibilities and planning process, response intelligence, feasibility and impact analysis, what have we to do, monetizing the potential savings, profits, added value. We have the translation into target agreements, incentives, funding, instruments, monitoring, innovation to the regulation, more experimental. Response city is, I think, a very long-term. Response cities are cities of shared responsibility. Thank you very much and good luck for the future response city.
Thank you, Carlo. Thank you very much for your really great presentation. Especially liked the term using for cities as water resource managers. And when I look outside, I cannot believe that you were mentioning that Berlin is a dry city.
Not today, not today.
It's really hard in November rain when we look outside. I have a few questions about the presentation, if I may. Many cities are exploring their own ways how to deal with extreme weather events, but also with the challenges of climate change you were mentioning. What new forms of collaborations are required to achieve the vision of sustainable and resilient cities?
Yes, I think very important is that we work together, interdisciplinary and interdisciplinary. We have to think in projects, not in sectoral Zuständigkeit.
Responsibility.
Responsibility separated. We have to think in one responsibility for one project, and the project is Response City, the new future of the cities, climate adapted cities. This is, I think, yes.
So that means you also need a kind of a cross-sector goal setting. Yes. But how can you articulate these goals? So are there more ambitious goals necessary to drive a meaningful change in urban planning, and on which level have these goals to be set up?
Different levels. We have the level, we want to have a good health, we want to have a future living, but we have also a level of the doing one street, one house. So I think we need like a house, different levels. Okay. For the goals to do this.
Okay, but when we're talking about goals, are we talking about rather soft goals, which are set up in a small community or in a municipality, or should there be, like more regulation to support the development of these sustainable urban solutions?
This is not very easy. On the one side, we need regulation. On the other side, not too much regulation, because we need experimental, we need innovation. Yeah. And if we have too much regulation, so the innovation will not come. So I think we need some regulation for our doing, but we need also the free thinking for innovation.
Yeah. You were just mentioning it, and there was just a question that came in from the audience. It's how can we improve the communication between city managers and innovation providers?
I think Berlin is with the Regenwasseragentur, rainwater agency. I think this is a very good instrument for coming together, to make workshops, to make information, to the response intelligence, and I think that this is one very good idea, and I invite all to come to the Regenwasseragentur in Berlin. I think this is a good strategy.
Okay, well, you all heard Carlo's invitation to come to Berlin Regenwasseragentur. Thank you very much, Dr. Carlo Becker, for sharing your valuable insights and expertise on how sponge city principles can make our urban spaces more resilient and sustainable. Your presentation, and with the different levels of rethinking you were showing us, has given us a lot to think about, especially regarding Berlin's journey towards better stormwater management and climate adaptation. And thank you to the audience for your interest and engagement. And we will now head to the next keynote.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and good luck.